Good day. This presentation's aim is to help form a coalition to combat piracy in West Africa. The target audience are the decision makers with the regional maritime security agencies of the Gulf of Guinea countries, namely Nigeria, Benin, Cameroon, and Ghana. Imagine you are the captain of the Dutch flagship Rapide. You are in the midst of a routine transit from Ghana across the Gulf of Guinea to Port Harcourt, located in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. Though pirate attacks in the region have been on the rise in recent years, you have taken the necessary precautions as demanded by your Dutch-owned shipping company and their insurers in order to minimize your exposure to potential pirates. This includes a daytime transit to port, utilizing the safest avenues of approach, as well as armed guards. But despite your best efforts to protect your vessel, you are interdicted by a smaller and faster ship of men with automatic weapons. You are boarded by pirates and forcibly removed to an unknown location. Unbeknownst to you, you and the 10 other crew members are being held for ransom. Following 33 days in captivity, your shipping line's insurer secured your release for an undisclosed amount. This actual event, which occurred in 2018, has become a common occurrence in the Gulf of Guinea. The practice of piracy had largely been lost in the international public's consciousness until the 2009 incident in which Somali pirates illegally commandeered the Maersk Alabama off the east coast of Africa. This event brought newfound scrutiny to the ongoing piracy situation facing your neighbors in the Gulf of Aden. Since then, the international community has taken a hardline stance in the region and has been largely successful in mitigating the effects of piracy along Africa's east coast. But those advances have been largely offset by the growing number of offshore attacks here in the Gulf of Guinea. Unlawful attacks on merchant vessels by pirates increased 12% worldwide in 2018, but the majority of that escalation was the result of piracy, which more than doubled in Guinea. The Gulf of Guinea sits at the intersection of vast swaths of natural resources, including hydrocarbons, mineral deposits, and fisheries. These resources are integral components of the economies of the surrounding nations, which have experienced economic growth that outpaces the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. It is this economic influence that differentiates piracy between East and West Africa. Countries on the Horn of Africa are typically not the destination for ships that fall prey to Somali pirates. Those vessels are typically in transit to Asia. The goods lost as a result of piracy there are absorbed by the firms on the receiving end, which can more easily weather those losses. For vessels pirated in West Africa, though, the Gulf of Guinea is the destination. Although piracy involving theft of oil dominates maritime attacks in the Gulf of Guinea, a rise in maritime-related kidnappings, like the Rapide, has occurred since 2014. Because the Gulf of Guinea is almost as big as the Gulf of Mexico, policing the waters there has proved difficult. The increase of naval and police patrols in Nigerian waters has unfortunately led to a knock-on economic effect in neighboring countries' territorial waters. In Benin, for example, taxes on trade entering the main port account for nearly half of government revenue. Last year, the spike in pirate attacks caused an umbrella group of maritime insurers to list the waters near Nigeria and neighboring Benin in the same risk category as Somalia. The result was a significant decrease in maritime traffic in the region, which meant a 28% loss in Benin's government revenue. The decrease also affected the livelihoods of the country's citizens by increasing the cost of imports and decreasing the competitiveness of exports. Furthermore, these statistics don't encompass the nearly 200,000 barrels of oil a day that are alleged to have illegally been siphoned from tankers, mainly in Nigeria. This places the economic cost of maritime theft at nearly $100 billion annually. The coalition-led model in East Africa has been successful in recent years, but that success has not translated to the results in West Africa. This is due mostly to the lack of persistent security efforts in the Gulf of Guinea. Rather, the U.S. has spent considerable resources on Africa Partnership Station, which conducts engagement activities with international partners to enhance self-sustaining capability and effectively maintain maritime security within their inland waterways, territorial waters, and exclusive economic zones. The annual headline events for Africa Partnership Station are the exercises Open Game Express and Cutlass Express, which are relatively short in duration. At their conclusion, partner maritime forces are sent back to home nations to ideally share and put into use the tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs, learned over the previous weeks, but with little follow on instruction or evaluation. While certainly helpful, the measures like these have little lasting effect on maritime security, as evidenced by the continued rise in piracy. But we stand now at a tipping point when facing the problem of piracy in West Africa, and we have the unique opportunity to solve it. The tools needed to curtail maritime insecurity currently exist and are available to all regional partners, but they must be first harnessed and synthesized. Our first opportunity is to establish channels and outlets that seamlessly allow the flow of information between maritime security agencies. While information is currently shared between regional nations, that typically occurs on an ad hoc basis, with no guarantee that the needed recipients actually receive the necessary information. This network must avoid the pitfalls that occur within hierarchies, where any one disruption in the chain affects the flow of information downstream. Instead, as equal partners, the responsibility rests with all nations to ensure the effective and timely transmission of security information. The next step is to build partner capacity. Nigeria already possesses a regionally formidable naval force capable of projecting power well offshore, so the focus will likely lie with the smaller and more constabulary navies of Ghana, Gabon, and Cameroon, who stand to benefit most from an increase in naval, maritime, and coast guard capacity. With these assets in place, training can commence to ensure the maritime security forces are aware of and can execute the latest TTPs available for countering piracy. Collaboration can then transition to begin putting those TTPs into place through joint and multinational training exercises that will simulate the environment and stress found during a maritime crisis. Now, up to this point, the U.S. has on some level employed these steps, but failed to follow through with a concerted, coordinated, and lasting effort to combat piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. That leads us to today's policy proposal. Join the U.S. in the formation of a West African maritime coalition. Together, we can be significantly more effective than today's discrete maritime security initiatives. By integrating with regional and international partners, we can leverage each other's strengths in the maritime environment and help prevent piracy that spreads due to gaps in security coverage. This coalition will entail leadership assured among the member nations on a rotating basis in order to gain stakeholder buy-in from our respective members. Furthermore, the lasting presence of a coalition means partner nations can continue to hone their skills outside the confines of restrictive exercises while remaining engaged with integrated regional security efforts. Through a lasting coalition that embodies the best practices of information sharing, TTP development and training, and maritime security continuity, we can certainly accomplish more together. On behalf of the U.S. Navy and our international partners around the globe, I ask that you seriously consider this proposal so we can ensure that events like the Rapide are a thing of the past. I'm now happy to answer any questions you may have.